Welcome to Expat Hoops, the podcast about the ins and outs of basketball outside of the United States. Today we're talking with the 5-year veteran head coach of Adelphi University's women's basketball team, Missy Traversi. Before coaching in Division II, Missy played professionally in Sweden for 2 different teams and tried out for the WNBA following her first year. She coached Fallyn Stevens, who currently plays basketball professionally in Iceland, who we've interviewed here before and who joins us today for this interview. Missy was the 2019-2020 All-Met Division II Coach of the Year. Missy Traversi, welcome to Expat Hoops.
Thanks for having me.
So you started out your college career in Maine. When did you think that you either could or wanted to play professionally?
I would say after my first year. I had a pretty solid freshman year, sat down with my college coach and talked pretty seriously about what I needed to improve on in the next year or so, came back, was able to improve my game in certain areas. And then it was about my junior year where we started getting contacted by some scouts. And then that's how it all unfolded in my senior year. I was able to look through a couple of contracts and make a decision.
So what sort of scouts were the ones that were kind of looking out for you? Were they WNBA related or was it international?
It was international. Yeah. And I didn't even know that they sent scouts over to watch our games. Apparently there was a few scouts at our games watching, and they had contacted my head coach and had made an offer, and we built this contract, and I was able to make a decision based on where I wanted to be and the safety of the club and the history of the club and the coaching. So I determined Sweden was where I wanted to be.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know that whenever I was thinking about playing professionally, that was like one of your biggest points for me, was to just make sure that the club was safe and that there was no back strings being pulled and all of that going on within the club.
Yeah, I saw it a lot when I was there. Some unethical behavior by the clubs and programs and coaches. I didn't want Fallyn to fall into that. And thankfully, she's in a great spot and she's around good people that are taking care of her.
A few of our previous guests have mentioned certain nefarious things, one of which had some money owed to him by a previous team, which we talked a little bit about on the podcast as well. So that kind of thing does happen.
It does.
In Sweden, did you see anything like that in particular in the league that you were in?
It didn't happen to me directly, but I did have a couple of friends on the other teams that had issues, Americans that hadn't been paid. I didn't run into that directly though, but I did have some friends.
You mentioned on a podcast a couple of years ago of the difficulty of diving into a country where you don't know the language and you're expected to play basketball at a high level in a new place, a strange place. Even though you only played 2 years there, is there anything from that particular aspect of your experience that sticks with you today?
Yeah, I think just having that fearless attitude, just diving into a new culture and just knowing that I don't have anyone here. I don't know the language, but my courageous ability to step into a situation and kind of make it my own. I still learn from that today on new jobs and when I meet new people. It's all about just taking that risk and being fearless in your attempts. So I think that's what I took away from it.
And speaking of fearlessness, after your first year in Sweden, you tried out for the WNBA. That was 2006, and the league itself was only about 9 years old then. Is there anything that you feel like has changed in women's professional basketball since those days?
Oh yeah, tremendous change. And just look at Elena Deladon, just the face of these women athletes. There's such a sense of empowerment and excitement around the league. I know when I was trying out for the Chicago Sky, it was an expansion team, and Dave Collins was the head coach. I don't think players were excited to be on those rosters. Now it's highly competitive. It's certainly you get paid well, not as well as some of these other international spots, but people want to stay in their country. They want to be around their families. They want their families in the stands. So yeah, I think that it's changed. I think the money is different. I think the marketing is different. And I think there's a lot more promoting going on than ever before for the WNBA. It's all positive. I think it's been tremendous for young female athletes and young girls to look up to.
So actually, one of the things I think I had a question, maybe it is a clarification question, or Fallyn, if you want to kind of ask it with me, or kind of a little bit about the academy and running the AAU program, because those kind of were right after you graduated, I think, from the timeline. And while you're also at Division III school, and it sounds like that's not going on at Adelphi now necessarily, but it sounds like you were really active, not only coaching high school. I think you were getting your master's, running a skills academy, doing AAU. Like, one, how'd you have the time?
Yeah.
She never runs out of time. I'll tell you that right now.
I get a lot done in a day. No, I don't know. I just, at that time in my life, I had the energy and the enthusiasm and the knowledge to share. And I wanted to impact young players. I wanted to share what I knew, and I wanted to do it in every way, every day, as long as I could. And I think that came across in my bio. You know, I did a lot with MT Elite in 10 years, and we grew that company, and then was fortunate enough to be a college coach at the Division III level. And then I think without that experience, without MT Elite and without the Division III head coaching experience, I wouldn't have come to Adelphi. I never would have had the opportunity, and I certainly never would have met Fallyn. So it's, again, it all happens for a reason. You know, every stop along the way, whether it was Sweden, MT Elite, Wheelock, Division III, it led me here. And I think that's something that I look back on and I smile. I'm grateful. I'm super grateful for my journey and my path.
Actually, in your bio, you know, they said that you could extend the hours each day to 27. That was one of your magic abilities, you know. I'm kidding.
And that's like one of the things that looking from a athletic director's like standpoint though, and taking a look and seeing, all right, not only played internationally, but also a player coach internationally, also owned skills academy, everything like that, succeeded at a Division III. I mean, it seems like tailor made to walk into a Division II program and be like, I can kind of do it all, like everything that you want.
Yeah. I mean, I can't do it all. I learn that every day.
That's the selling point though.
Right, it is. No, you know what? It's funny that you say all that, because I can remember on my interview here with Danny McCabe, the AD, he said to me, you know, you managed a budget. You've worked with younger talent. You've developed student athletes to play at the college level. You've hired staff. You've led a group of people in a certain direction. So he kind of wrote down everything that I had done and how that was going to help me be successful here at Adelphi. And he was right. He was right. You have to wear a lot of hats. And fortunately, I dipped into pretty much everything, being a Division III head coach and obviously running MT Elite. And it did prepare me for Adelphi. So yeah.
I feel like even at a Division II more so than a Division I, do you have to wear all these hats? Because at a Division I, you kind of have people that can help with all of these different tasks and stuff. But Division I, it's kind of you and your small group that you have compared to the larger group you would have at the Division I.
So true. I'm lucky. I've got two very loyal assistants here.
Yeah.
And Fallyn knows Anthony DiClemente. He's my backbone. He's my left hand and my right hand. And without him, our heart doesn't beat. This program doesn't beat without him. So he's a blessing. He's a blessing.
You do all this, and you mentioned on the previous podcast that I referred to that you do not drink coffee either, despite the fact that you have all this energy. Yeah. How is that possible?
I don't know.
I can't survive without 3 cups of coffee a day. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be scary, Fallyn, if I had coffee in me.
She wakes up before our 6 a.m. practice to go work out and run miles at Orange Theory Fitness, and then comes to practice and has more energy than all of us. So yeah, her with coffee would probably not be okay.
I don't know why. I've never wanted the taste. I never liked it. I don't know what it is. It just never appealed to me.
I got to be honest. I didn't like the taste of it either. And then I just kind of used it as a vessel for caffeine at some point, but that was basically how that worked for me. So I did want to double back real quick to your professional career. I know that your career, you felt like it was cut short due to injuries. You had some injury issues in your second year when you were a player coach over there. Do you feel like you could have played longer if you had stayed healthy? I mean, was that something that you wanted to get into? I know that it was cut a little short, but did you want to extend your time as a professional overseas?
I did. I definitely did. I wish I knew about nutrition back then. I wish I knew about, physical therapy and just taking care of your overall wellness. I wish I had that knowledge base back then. I didn't. And I think it led to injuries. I don't know if I took care of my body as well as I could have. And it is frustrating looking back. I mean, I had a very good career, but I probably could have played another 2 or 3 years for sure. But unfortunately, I broke my nose, broke my ankle. My body was breaking down. And I thought that was God's way of saying, okay, miss, hang it up. you're good. Step away. But I don't know. I think nutrition plays a critical role. I think you've got to take care of your body. And I didn't have that knowledge base back then. I didn't. And I wish I did. I really do. Because I think I would have played longer.
And so you were also a player coach your second year
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
That must have been an interesting experience. You're a player coach in a country that is foreign to you.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. I took Swedish class. I don't know, Fallon, are you taking classes?
Oh, no, I cannot. Icelandic is completely crazy. I don't think I would.
No.
I know like 2 words.
Well, that's okay. All you need is conversation pieces. That's all you need to know. Like, can I have seconds? Please help me. Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? No, I think the reason I took the classes is because I was going to be a player coach. And when I was offered the position, I thought I have to talk to them in their native tongue. And I ended up taking some class. I can't speak it fluently by no means, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad. I think it showed respect to the culture.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm not just one of those ignorant Americans that are coming in and acting like I know everything when I don't.
It's interesting. How did that come about? I mean, how did they end up saying, hey, you can be a player coach on the team? That's something that no one's really mentioned so far in our interviews. We've had about 10 of them so far, and nothing like that's come up.
Yeah, I look back on it. I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure I had a conversation with the club president at the end of my first season. And he said, do you have any interest in coaching? You're a point guard. We see you as a floor leader. You've had a great year with us. Is this something that you'd like to do in your downtime? In between playing full time for the club, can I also run some practices, as well as participate in the practices, which was really confusing. But once we figured out the schedule, I loved it. I loved it. I was basically doing what I was doing when I was a player. Nothing really changed. It's just timeouts. I was drawing up plays. I was doing a lot of the scouting reports. I was prepping the team for the actual game, doing walkthroughs with the team, running shoot arounds. So that was kind of new for me, but it prepared me again. It prepared me for the next step, which was high school coaching when I did my high school job. And that led to college coaching. So it all just kind of worked simultaneously together.
And we often ask about the difference between leagues. Many of the guests on the show, they've gone to 4, 5, 6 different leagues all over the world. You only played in one, but you coached in a lot of different areas. Since you were a player coach overseas, you coached in high school, you coached at multiple divisions in college. Is there anything you can point to in your experiences in different levels that you've taken with you as you moved up the ranks? Obviously, the skill gradient's a little bit different as you coach different players. How do you adjust? What do you take with you?
I would say collaboration with the athlete. I think you need to be able to put more of a we into how you coach and teach. It can't be you talking at someone. It needs to be you're talking with them. You need to meet them where they are. I learned that early on as a young coach. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I thought that you had to give tough love all the time, and that, the harder the better. And you've got to run suicides all the time. And no, you don't actually. And you need to make sure you speak to the athletes, you connect with the athletes. You need to make sure there's joy in what you're doing. It can't just be adversity all the time. Sure, there's a time and place, but you have to remember that you're all there to play the game you love, and to do it with a smile on your face at times. And players aren't going to respect coaches who are there for the wrong reasons, and coaches that are just constantly on them. And so I've learned to be more collaborative. I certainly don't get it right all the time, but I think that's with my time with Fallyn, especially, I think I grew into that. I think my first year, it was more of a dictatorship. It was more of, you're going to do exactly what I want to do, and I don't want to hear it. And then I realized that you got to grow with a team. It's not about you taking them with you, you grow together. And that's probably the most powerful lesson I've learned at all the levels that I've been at. You've got to be collaborative, and you've got to make it about the experience and less about you.
Yeah, I remember a few times you've asked us like the question, I can't remember exactly, but it was basically like, are you here because like you love it, or because you're like it's your job, or you have asked like basically like why you're here. And I know that there was a time, and it was probably one of the first 2 years, where we all basically said that we were there because like it was our job. Like love wasn't coming out of like any of our mouths, and you kind of preached how like it shouldn't feel like a job, although in a way, yeah, it is a job. But you should be there because you love it, not because you have to do it, you know?
Yeah. And I think Val, I think my first 2 years, I think I'm the head coach. So the fact that you felt that way, I had a lot to do with that. So I had to make some serious changes in what I did and how I led. And we were able to kind of stir the ship in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it became more of a player-led culture than a coach culture. But it takes time. You got to grow with people, and credit Fallyn. She stuck with me for 4 years. You know, some players don't. Some players, and in every program, not just our program, it's a revolving door. You know, the grass is always greener. You know, this is coach isn't for me. I'm not playing. I'm not getting the minutes I want. I'm going to go somewhere else. And I respect that, but you got to credit the kids that grind, that stick it in with 4 years and grow with you. And I think that's what makes Fallyn so special, is she's someone that works from the ground up, and she's a fighter, and she'll stick with you. And we were able to accomplish something pretty cool together because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I admire her for that big time.
And it's interesting too. I did want to say that you mentioned the collaboration. You also mentioned the fact that being sort of like a taskmaster persona versus bringing in a little bit more love of the game, a little bit more looseness, a little bit more fun. That was actually something that years ago, I watched an interview with Pat Summitt, and she said she mentioned that was something that Kay Yao taught her early on in her career when she was coaching on the Olympic team back in the day. That was something that she mentioned that Kay Yao was instrumental in teaching her. So.
Yeah. I mean, Pat Summitt was definitely from that era, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
She was from that hardcore, you know, early morning grind, run, hard. The tougher, the better. But, you know, that's what she knew. That was her world, and it worked for her for a very long time. I don't think that necessarily correlates these days. I don't think that. I think every player is motivated differently, and you have to kind of find what works for each player individually and make that connection. I think that's really important. Really important.
So here's kind of an interesting segue for you. So you've played and coached overseas. Has that experience been something that you think sets you apart from other coaches, you know, whether it's at your current level or obviously down at Division III, obviously high school, I would imagine. Do you think it's something that you can point to as a selling point as you're recruiting, especially now?
Yeah, I think the fact that I played overseas is a big selling point. I don't know if they really look at the player coach piece much. But I do think that when I am going for jobs, that selling that I have international experience, that I know there's some contacts over there. There's some people that I can connect with. I think that does work in my favor. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that also a question that I guess I would have is, I think it's so interesting how, of course, Barbara Stevens, she recruited you, and then you ended up coaching against her. So for you guys that like don't know, Barbara Stevens was the coach for Bentley University for how many years?
Legendary. She's legendary.
A lot, yeah. And so I thought it was really cool to learn that she recruited you, and then you ended up coaching like against her for all the 4 years, right? This is her first year that she has retired, and I don't know, like your thoughts on that, I guess, would be interesting.
No, that's a cool question, Fallyn. That's a cool thought, actually. Yeah, so I was recruited by Barbara Stevens. She's, I think, the Division II winningest coach. She's in the Hall of Fame. She recently retired, and she was at Bentley for most of her career. And I thought I was going to play for Barbara Stevens. I was convinced. She recruited me since I was, freshman in high school. I wanted to play for her. I wanted to be in Boston. I thought it was going to be Barbara Stevens and we were going to cut down nets together. And then Division I kind of came into the mix, and I started getting more Division I looks, and I wanted to play at a higher level. So long and short of it, I did say no to Bentley. And that was really hard for me at that point in my life, to say no to someone that I had formed a relationship with, a connection with, and I didn't want to let her down. So, you know, I think she respected my decision, but there was always that, oh, she said no kind of feel. And I get that, you know, she's a competitor like me. But then, who knew, down the road that I would get this job at Adelphi, and any 10 jobs do not come around very often. So the fact that I'm in a league like this, and I coach with Hall of Famers against Hall of Famers, is like a dream come true. But I can remember my first year being scared to death that first time I was going to see her. And I was like trembling in my office. I'm not kidding. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Because you have that awkward, when you go up to a coach before the game and you have small talk and you're like, hey, how's the family? What's going on? You do the whole banter thing. Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Like, oh, it's good to see you again. Like, I didn't know what to say, but I have a lot of respect for Coach Stevens and what she's done in her time, and the mark she's left in women's basketball. But yeah, it's a pretty neat feeling when life comes full circle like that, and you can look over on the other bench and you can see someone that you looked up to. But then you want to win. So then it doesn't.
Yeah, we did.
You were,
year.
Yeah, and senior year.
And senior year.
And senior year. Don't forget that. But yeah, that's a cool thought, Val. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Cool thought. Yeah.
So we got to talk COVID now. You're trying to get a season underway, but you're not quite there yet. Tell us about what you're doing before the season begins and what steps are being taken toward trying to get you on a basketball court competitively.
Yeah, so we all came back as a team in a program. I think it was the third week of September, and we started phasing into our COVID protocol, which we weren't able to actually get on the court right away. We had to do our strength and conditioning first. I wasn't able to see them until the second week of October, so they spent 2 weeks with our strength coach, just doing weightlifting, just doing conditioning. And then after that, we phased into the next level, which was small group training. So we had 3 to 4 people in a group. And after that, we were able to phase into contact. So we were able to do more 4-on-4, 5-on-5. And then now we're in the full practice. We've been in full practice now for a few months. And yeah, the team they're positive, they're energized. They just want to play. They want to play against somebody other than their teammates. They don't know, but we're trying to mix things up every other day. I'm trying to be creative in what we do. We're trying to put in shooting ladders and 3-on-3 competitions and break it up with some yoga and some team activities. It's challenging. This is a challenging time. You don't realize, I said this earlier, you don't realize how important those games are for the coaches as well. You prepare, you scout, you do your walkthrough, and you play a game, and then you're evaluated based on that game, and then you're able to really start teaching and seeing where you fall short. And we don't have that right now. We're not able to have that accumulation of knowledge yet, and we don't know what kind of team we have. We just don't. I mean, we have a lot of new faces. We graduated an incredible senior class, so we've got pieces that we have to put together. And the good news is, all this time that we do have, we are able to spend an enormous time getting to know them and trying to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are. But there's nothing like a game and an opponent to test you, to test your mind, to test you physically. And we don't have that right now. We're doing everything we can to keep them upbeat and to keep them competitive and in shape. But if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears, because I talk to my colleagues all the time, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And some of them aren't even able to practice right now. That's the other thing. The fact that we can be on a court together as a family and see each other every day, it's such a gift. And that's what we tell them every day. Like, what's the alternative, guys? You're at home on the couch on a Zoom call. Like,
yeah, I'm at home on the couch now, and I would do a lot to have practice.
Right? I feel very attacked right now at home on a Zoom.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Sorry, was that a personal attack? But that's the reality for all of us. And the fact that joy and movement is so necessary right now. You need to be physically doing things, and the fact that we're able to do that, I'm elated about it. I love it, but I can be a lot. Fallyn will tell you, I can be
really.
I can be a lot. So they need to get a reprieve sometimes and take a break from me, which they will come Christmas break. They get like 7 days. Yeah, 7 days without MT. That's okay though. I'm very self-aware, Fallyn. You know that. You know that. But I don't know if I answered your question. I'm not sure. Did I only answer one part of the question?
Oh no, you did perfectly fine, I think.
Oh, okay.
But while we're going with the love fest here, why don't you two embarrass each other a little bit?
Oh, all right.
Give us the dirt. Give us the deets. Who wants to go first about this? Who's got the most embarrassing story about the other?
Oh God, you have some good ones on me, don't you?
I mean,
I don't have an embarrassing story for Fallyn, but I just want this is Fallyn in a nutshell. So this is just one story, but Fallyn, do you remember it was the AIC game last year and we were up at half. Half. I think we were up by a good amount. And we said going into the third quarter, coming out of half, we were going to take off the press. We're going to take off the press. And you were like walking out of the locker room and you said to Tony, like, we're not taking off the press. I don't want to take off the press. And I mean, she's relentless. Like, and that was our slogan, like her senior year. And that was not only Fallyn, but the rest of the seniors. And she just like, she wouldn't relent. She's like, no, we're pressing them. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. And I'm not sitting back. And she's kind of like a quiet assassin. She's like a silent assassin, Fallyn, because she doesn't always open her mouth and bark at people, but she has high standards. And she gets respect from her teammates because of that and her opponents. And I just love that story because I think it's pretty telling about Fallyn's fight and grit. And
well, and compared to my freshman year, I feel like you've turned me into like a defensive lover, because so defense has always been Adelphi's big thing since you came in. And my freshman year, I don't know if I quite enjoyed defense as much as I should have. And
yeah, you didn't. You didn't.
But you made sure that in the end, my senior year, I'm begging to keep on and 94 press the whole entire game. I would not have been down for that the freshman year.
I don't know what it was your freshman year, but I thought you had like you know those weighted ankle things. Like I thought at some point I'm like, wait, she's moving, but she's not going anywhere. What's happening right now? And then I don't know what happened. Like the ankle weights came off, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow. And she was off and running. But no, I do. In all fairness, like I do think there's an investment when you get into the college game. I don't think high school coaches teach enough defense, and I don't think AAU coaches teach enough defense. So these athletes, and myself included, we get to this level and we're shocked. Like, what's help side defense? You know, I don't know how to guard my yard. I don't know how to. What do you mean box out? What does that mean? And if you don't do those things, you're not going to get on the floor. And Fallyn, after her first year, she realized pretty quickly, like, I've got to be a two-way basketball player. I can score. I can score 20 points, but I can't give up 30. Like, right. I can't be a liability for my team. And Fallyn, she embraced it. I credit her, but she was slow freshman year. So low.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
I say that with love in my heart.
I know.
Love in my heart.
No, I think I don't really know if I have any like embarrassing stories. I would just say like, I mean, what I remember most is like what I think about the most is like all of these little things that like you would put together, like whether it be like from freshman year, like the don't be an energy vampire, glued to our lockers, to like just like the little talks talking about this like what was it, like a fear, you're like, you guys, I think you guys did it recently as a team, like your hero,
the 4 H's, your highlight,
4 H's,
hardship. Yeah,
exactly, like just those little things to like kind of not only like you like, and you guys participated as well, like as coaching staff. So I think that like what I didn't realize back then is that a lot of coaching staffs, it's not like that. Like I think that you open up yourself to us and expect us to do the same to you guys. And I think that's one thing that I take from college basketball, and realize that it's not like that everywhere, and that it is kind of nice having more of a personal relationship rather than just like a business relationship with the coaching staff in a way.
Yeah.
But not embarrassing, but
I embarrass myself daily, so I can
No, my favorite would be whenever we do yoga and you come around and rub the essential oils on our head.
Yeah, that's right. So we would do yoga every game day.
Yeah.
And we'd wake up and we would have 25 minutes of yoga, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I would read something like a motivating passage or something. And then we would sit in Shavasana, we'd lay down. And then I'd always ask, like, does anyone allergic to oils? Anyone not want to be like touched or anything like that? And everyone would be like, no, go for it, whatever. And then there'd be people like Fallyn was like, oh, that was really nice. And you just kind of like just relax their scalp. And yeah, it was more of a connection, you know, it was a spiritual connection that we all had. And it certainly came across in the way we played.
It helped.
And the way, and the way we played and the way we shot the ball. I really believe in the whole mind-body connection. It's really, I think it's an important part, especially as an elite athlete. And I didn't know that when I was a player. I wish I did.
Yeah. The conversation that you two were having kind of spurred me into one question. When you've been coaching, first of all, is Fallyn the only professional basketball player so far that you've coached, or have you coached more than that?
No, I've coached more. I've coached 1, 2, 3 others. Yeah. And then I was at Harvard for a little while too, as a coach there. So yeah.
When you are coaching someone, do you have an idea that they're, going to be a competent pro, that they should go and play basketball somewhere professionally, even not necessarily here, but elsewhere? Is that a sense that you have when you're coaching someone?
No, I honestly, no, because I think, like, I look at someone like Fallyn, just her growth as a person, and just her leadership and her toughness and overall reliability. I mean, she didn't have that as a freshman. It took time for her to grow and mature into that role. And I don't think players, if you lack that, you're not going to make it overseas. So I couldn't look at Fallyn in her freshman year, sophomore, junior year and say she's definitely going overseas. At the end of her junior year, I definitely we had conversations about it. And then obviously her senior year went so well. We wanted to try to get that going for her. But yeah, I don't think it's something you see early on. I think there's a lot of different pieces. You're not just going to be successful overseas because you're talented. You need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. You need to be able to network. You need to be able to be reliable. This club is investing in you. So you have to be able to back up what you say. You have to match actions and words. And Fallyn was able to do that. And that's why she was able to get a contract and be where she is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember talking, I think I mentioned this in the first podcast that I did with these guys. But basically how I remember we were sitting at Aunt's grandma's house, and I was like, you kind of asked me like, so what do you think about doing? And at that point I didn't really want, like, I didn't think I was going to go play. And so I think, and you supported that. You're like, yeah, I totally understand that. And it's just kind of like where life takes you, I think. And like we've been saying, like, everything happens for a reason. And like, if it wasn't for COVID, I probably would have been like perfectly fine with our senior year and been like, you know what, that was an amazing way to end my basketball career. Like, I'm done. But because of the way that got cut off, I can't finish off of unfinished business, basically.
Yep. No, I'm glad you didn't finish that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I also remember an embarrassing story, actually.
Oh, great.
So it also takes place at AIC, probably my sophomore year. I remember we were playing awful, halftime. You lost your mind screaming.
Oh, yeah.
And then somehow we scored 13 points in a minute and a half and came back and won.
It was insane.
And then at the end of the game, you had nothing to say. You just cried.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I think that. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
It was an awful. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was an awful game for us. Like the first 2 quarters were ugly, and then we had no point guards. We had point guards, but they didn't show up for the game, and we were just very selfish. We just were a bunch of individuals running around, and I had just had it, and I lost my temper. I was not at my best and had a few choice words, and you all went out there, and I think in the 4th quarter, you made up like 13 or 15 points in a matter of like 2.5 minutes, something crazy like that. And you hit it like a monster 3. Emily hit the game winner. And then we're in the locker room, and I was just so worked up. I had gotten to such an emotional place. And I was like, I don't have any words. And I just broke down. I just broke down. Yeah, that was
and now all of these embarrassing memories are popping into my mind again. Like the time that you rolled your ankle during the game.
Oh yeah.
And when you split your pants during the game.
Yeah, I split my pants. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. Oh shoot, Fallyn, I was hoping you'd forget that one. Yeah, the split the pants, that's going to go down. That's one
Yeah.
for the ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Thank God.
And
though.
rolling your ankle.
Yeah, but thank God I acted fast. I wish you had seen my agility when I split my pants. I quickly dove onto the bench and sat in my coach's lap, and I was like, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We got to call a timeout. I just split my pants." And he's like, "Okay." So we call the timeout from the bench as I'm sitting in his lap, and the whole team comes over for timeout because they want me to tell them what to do. It's a timeout. And I'm like, "Guys, I called the timeout because I split my pants. I don't know what to tell you." And this was like a critical moment in the game. We were in overtime against Bridgeport. Yeah. And then Callie at the time grabbed her shooting jersey and wrapped it around my waist and gave me like the best assist of my career. And I was able to finish the game with like a big jersey around my waist. Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment. Oh God.
Yeah. I'm glad that popped back in my mind.
Yeah, thanks for that, Val. Those were my favorite pants. Those were my favorite pants. God. Please.
Were they your lucky pants?
They were my lucky pants, and we won the game. And we won the game.
So their life was not in vain, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I guess one last thing I wanted to ask you. If you have someone like Fallyn who comes to you and says, you know, I want to try my hand at professional basketball overseas, what's your advice to them if they're playing in Division II for you right now in the program?
Yeah, I would first say if you have the opportunity to go to a foreign country and play the game you love and get paid to do it, go for it. But I follow that up with just make sure you do your research. Make sure you speak to the club, you speak to players that have been there. Make sure your agent, if you have an agent, make sure he's asking all the tough questions. Just make sure you're taken care of. You don't want to be in a bad situation where you get over there and then you have to come back, or you have to go to another team. So yeah, I would say if you have that opportunity, it's a good fit, go for it. Not many people have the opportunity to do that. And I see Fallyn on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm following her, and she's living it up, and as she should be. It's the best time in her life, and she's earned this opportunity, and she's making the most of it. And that's what living is all about. So it's pretty cool to see her fulfilling her dreams now, and still playing the game.
Here's a question for you. I think Tony asked this from the lens of, ability standpoint as a player, but is there somebody that basically you can see having had the experience playing overseas that you could see as being somebody that would thrive if they went overseas outside of the playing aspect, like going over and embracing a new culture, that sort of thing?
On our current route, you talking about someone on our current route?
Just in general, like, do you look at anybody that you've either coached now or before in the past that you'd say, whether or not they necessarily have the talent to go overseas, that they would be a good person to go over and adapt to a new culture, or that they would be good to see different countries as a professional?
Absolutely. Yeah. A couple players on our roster right now that I think would be really, really good at it. I think versatility helps over there too. If you're a versatile player, if you take care of your body and you've got good people around you, I think you can have a storied career. I think you can do well. 3 to 5 years, you could do it. Why not? I mean, there's no rush. You got rushing back to work. You're rushing back to maybe sit in a cubicle. You're rushing back to punch the clock. So why not do it as long as you can? And shoot, if I could shoot the ball like Fallyn, man, I would stay over there as long as I could.
That was our interview with Missy Traversi, the head coach for Division II women's basketball stalwart at Adelphi University in Long Island, New York. Special thanks to Fallyn Stevens, her former player who helped get her on the show, and for asking her some good questions. You can listen to her previous interviews with us as well in our archive. We're releasing many of our favorite highlights from our brief 2020 beginning on YouTube, so please subscribe to keep getting premium content over the holiday season. For Andy Hoverman and Fallyn Stevens, I'm Tony Budney. We'll catch you next time on Expat Hoops.